Okay, day 14 of the Vauxhall Vivaro camper van conversion, and it's a beautiful day today, and there's a few things we need to get done in this van. So let's take a look. The main thing to tackle today, I'll just open the back doors because it is quite dark in there still. That's better. Now, the main thing to do today, or to start with, is this panel here. I'm going to put a panel on there, and this is going to be where all of the electrics, switching and everything like that is going to go. So we want to get this done, and we have this back panel to go on here as well, and with those two done we can get all of this paneling done, get all that painted up, and then we are ready for the worktop. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's this panel first, and this is a little bit of a strange shape. So what we're going to do is, same as we did for the front panel, I'm going to draw it very roughly on here. It's about like that, and I'm going to take some measurements for it and we'll get it cut. So again, this is same as for the large side panel really. We want to first of all get a sharp pencil, and along this bottom line we want 401. There is quite a slope on that wall, so I'll get the angle finder and we'll take the angle from this corner. So we can just take this angle up from here, and then we've got 681 for that one. So I'm going to measure along that line 681. This panel cut to size. There's just a couple of little pieces to take off the corners here to fit in with the ceiling properly, but that's looking good. Now, next thing we have to do with this is place the electrical components. This is going to be the electrical panel, so to speak, and what we have is one of these. So there's one of these to put on. There is the 240 volt thing to put on, and there is the battery monitor to put on. So I'm just going to place these, figure out the best place to put them, then we'll mark that up, drill some holes and put them in. I'm using a black one of these, by the way. This is just one which I have for marking, because the black one hasn't arrived yet. I think that would be acceptable like that. You'd have access to your USB things here, access to the 240 volt, and you'd be able to spot the Renogy unit. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a line here, just roughly. I'll continue that down, and I'll use that as the center line to place these components. Okay, so having done that, got these holes cut out and they're all good. I want to place the fuse box about here, and what I'm going to do is put a couple of little pieces of wood, just like this here, to screw the fuse box to. Okay, second thoughts for that. What I'm going to do is put this piece of 9mm ply on instead, and that will give us plenty to screw the fuse box to. So I'll just put a bit of glue on there. That's it. And we shall glue that on there. Right, that will be fine. I'll put another piece of wood on the side there. I'll do the same on here when I fix this in, and then we'll just put a board across there. I'll just put a couple of screws in so you still have access to it, but it'll stop anything in this cupboard hitting the electrics. So I think that's going to be the best bet there. Now, next thing we want to do, same procedure, we want to make this back panel with two openings in it, and that's what we're doing now. Okay, got all these panels done. This is for the back, facing the back doors, and again we're going to put bungee cord on this. We've got one for the electrics, and we've got the main panel for the side. So I'm going to give these a coat of white flat paint, undercoat. We'll let that dry off, and then we'll see if we can get these fitted. Okay, so they just need to dry off, and whilst they're drying off, we're going to get on with the worktop. Now, just have a look in the van here. One other thing, I put a shelf in here. That's just 5mm ply, secured down, and we've got all the wiring coming through there from underneath to fit onto this panel when my panel's dry. Now, as I say, next thing, we want a worktop on here all the way through, and we've got a really strange shape at the back. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece to length and scribe it, and then put the rest of the worktop together. I'll show you what I mean as we go. First of all, we want the entire length of this. Now I've got this piece of scrap 5mm ply against there because that's where the panel is going, and we can take a measure from the side of that panel to here, which is 1925. 1925 is the length of the worktop. Now I'm going to cut a piece of the worktop at 1925, bring it back in, and we'll see about scribing it. Okay, we have this piece in, cut, and we've got quite a bit of scribing to do here. There's a dip in this wall here. This piece comes out and then it goes back in there. So we're going to get a pen and the scribe, and we're going to see what we can do with that. Okay, this is our furthest point out, and as we bring that along into here, it goes down slightly there, and then that's about furthest point out again, and towards this corner it will come back in. Okay, now we'll have something to work with there, so I'm going to take that off with the jigsaw, and then we'll offer it up and see what we've got. This is the main area here, and I think what I'll do with that, I'll just tidy that line up a little bit before cutting it. Looking good. Okay, so I've got a brand new jigsaw blade in here. This is a substantial piece of wood, and I'll just attempt to take that out. Alright, that's actually not so bad. It's nice round there, that'll work there. It's jamming just on a point here. The shape is okay, but it just, as I say, it needs to chamfer because this wall is also on a bit of a chamfer. So it's just hitting, it's just from here to here. So I'm going to take that back in the workshop, chamfer that off, and hopefully we'll be good to go. So there we have it, bit of nibbling later and all that, and that is scribed in there very nicely. That's a nice fit, pleased with that. Next thing to do is make the rest of this worktop. Alright, so I've cut 3 of them to the same length, there they are, but there's quite an overhang here on the front of it, and what I want to do is cut that off, and then I'll face this all with the 44 by 18, and that will be the same distance out as the door, just for aesthetics. So we've got that lined up, and obviously we want another piece on here for the fridge, so I'm going to mark that underneath for the fridge, and we'll mark it here, and we'll mark it here. And what we want to do essentially is just whip this off to there, then we'll make the piece to fit in for the fridge. Now when I say it, we just want to whip that off. It's quite a task in itself. It's probably going to be best done on the bandsaw, I would say. Might have to do it on the table saw. We'll check the bandsaw out first, see how it performs. Yes, the bandsaw got it. Now, a little bit wavy, but I'll plane that down, get that nice and flat, and we have our section here for the fridge. So first things first, I'll just get a little block plane. There's just a couple of risers on that, so I'll plane that off, get it nice and flat, and then we'll make the extension piece for the fridge. Okay, so there is our worktop ready to go. All of the components are good. What I'm going to do is make a few marks on this, and I'm going to biscuit joint this together and then clamp it, glue it, clamp it, leave it overnight. So we just want a few of those biscuit joints in there, and then we're good to go. I'm doing that with this. This is just a router with a biscuit joint in bit on. Okay, so we have the slots cutting out there for these biscuits, and what we want to do is just put a nice line of glue in there and then stick one of them in. That's it there. Same all the way along, and now we want a good line of glue right the way down this and over the top of the biscuits to this one. That's good. All very good. And now I'll do the same with this one, and then I'll put that front piece on. Put a couple of little bits of scrap wood in there, and then we shall tighten this up. And this will pull the whole thing together. It does have a tendency to cup it though. So as I say, I'm going to clamp these down to the bench flat. The bench, a few sash clamps on it. That's going to be good. So we'll just need to let that dry. But at this point we can see are the covers dry, the panels for the electrics and stuff. And that is indeed dry, so we're good. Progress can be made. To put this panel on, I'm just going to slide it into place. Like that. Make sure we're good on this line here, which we are. I'm going to leave the back one and the side one until I've wired up these panels. I'll have much better access for wiring up these electrical components if I indeed leave these side ones off. And then when everything's wired up in there, we'll put these on, give it all a coat of paint. Alrighty, now to start with the electrics, we have this 5-switch panel to go on, and it's got a load of wires in the back of it here. So what I'm going to do is take all them out, and I think this bottom piece, if we can just remove some of this. This bottom piece is probably wired okay for what I want to do with it, but the switches on the top will have to go. So I'm saying the switches, the wiring for them will have to go. So I'm going to pull on. Right, so to wire this back up, I'm going to put the live on here. Then that live will go to this terminal here. And the rest of them will just link up in turn. Okay, so we have the bottom of that wired up. We've got our live here switched, which is going to the middle terminal, and we've got the neutral here, which I'll put to this bottom terminal, and also that will come, another neutral will come out of that and go to the fuse box, and that's the way that this is getting wired up. Okay, so to get a start on the wiring, I've attached the fuse box onto this plate that we put on earlier, and I've just placed that in. It's not screwed in yet. It'll have to come out anyhow to paint everything. And what I'm going to do, I'll just start with the panel. As I say, this one is going to go to here, this one is going to go to there, and there'll be another wire coming from there to the neutral bar on the fuse box, and we'll take one from the top of there to this terminal here, and then that first fuse will coincide with the first switch. The thing with that is just to take, we want from here and it's going to here. So I'm going to cut a piece of this wire. Okay, so I've got my 2 wires there. I'll strip the ends of each of them. And for this one here, we want to crimp just like that. So we will stick that in there and crimp it up. And on this side, we want one of these spade attachments, like a spade crimp, so to speak. So and that's the first one of them in. As I say, we've got live coming from the fuse box to the top, we've got the switch live going to the panel itself, and we've got this neutral connected to the other neutral, which then powers the panel. So next one that I want to put on is the lights. But as I go, I'm going to put these little stickers on so I know which one is which. And I'm going to do the same with the front of the fuse box so we know what all these are. Now, the next one that we're going to put in is for the lights. That's this one, and it's going to this terminal here. So we want to just pull that cable through. We'll clip all these up later obviously, and we can whack that off about there, and then we want another piece of neutral to connect to that and come to the fuse box. So we'll take that off, and we've got the excess here that we put on to begin with, and we'll just use a bit of that to connect them two up. Alrighty, so we have this majorly complete at this point. All of the switched items are in here. The items that have independent switches, i.e. the reading lamp and the USB on the other wall, just go directly into the fuse box. We have this to do the 240 later, and we have this to connect to our meter. So this is all good. But that is it for day 14. I think we've done quite well today. We've got them panels done for the sides of the tall cupboard. We've got the worktop scribed, cut, glued together, and we've got the major electrical components wired in. What is there left to do there with the electrics? There's the lights to put in. We'll put the lights in next time and wire up the 240, and that will be finished. Then we can put the other panels on and paint them, and by that time this will also be set, and we can start cutting a hole in that to take the SMEV 977 or 255 or whatever it's called, but it's over there, and we'll get that sorted out next time. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see how this whole van turns out, do consider subscribing to the channel. And in the meantime, I thank you very much.